Welcome to the Rubber Chicken Report podcast. We cover everything from clowning and magic to balloon twisting and the business behind the fun. Subscribe and check us out on YouTube at the Rubber Chicken Report. Let's jump in.
Okay, think about this for a sec. Way back, 1768, Philip Astley Circus.
Right. The very beginning, pretty much.
And he had this rider, Billy Button, known for being like amazing on a horse, but also deliberately clumsy.
Yeah. That mix, that unexpected awkwardness alongside skill.
And just like, that's supposedly the start, right? The first circus clown.
That's the story often told, yeah. It sets the stage.
So let's really get into this because, it's so much more than just a red nose and big shoes.
Definitely.
We're doing a deep dive today into the real art, the craft of clowning. We're using the book Creative Clowning as our guide here.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because most people, their idea of a clown is, well, maybe just someone acting silly.
Oh, yeah, goofy fun.
But this book, it lays out that there's a real depth there, a history, specific skills, even like serious thought about character.
Totally. I mean, this source covers everything. Planning a show, building that persona.
Right, from the ground up.
The skills, juggling, magic, puppetry, stilt walking, unicycling.
The whole toolkit.
And even the business side of things. But really, the core seems to be not just the tricks, but connecting, making people laugh with you.
Exactly, forging that connection. And that's where I think it gets interesting for everyone. Not just aspiring clowns.
How so?
Well, think about it. The principles of performance, how you create a character people believe in, how you engage a crowd.
Okay, yeah.
Those things, they apply everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Understanding humor, nonverbal communication, connecting. Super valuable skills for anything, really.
Good point. So let's get to the heart of it then. What actually is clowning beyond just messing about?
Well, the book draws a really key distinction. It's not just being silly for yourself.
Right.
It's about entertaining others, consciously, for their enjoyment. A proper clown isn't just goofing off. They're crafting an experience.
So it's intentional, a performance art.
Precisely. Effective clowning, the book says, is about building this kind of imaginary world. And you do that with your voice, your emotions, your physical movements.
Yeah.
It all has to be purposeful, not just repeating old gags.
Creating something unique for that audience. Okay, so it's deliberate. Now, it has a history, obviously. Can you give us a quick rundown? How did we get here?
Oh, absolutely. It goes way back. The book mentions Joseph Grimaldi, huge influence in England, late 1700s, early 1800s. He really shaped the modern clown image.
Grimaldi, right.
Yeah, but even before him, you had these mountebanks selling things from platforms.
Yeah, like old-timey infomercials.
Kind of, and they often had a zany character with them. Someone doing juggling, magic, comedy, basically to draw people in.
The original hype man.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then, as it evolved, you started seeing these distinct character types. The book talks about the move from early character clowns.
Yeah.
Think like Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy.
Oh, yeah. Very specific looks and personalities.
Exactly. They often took aspects of, different jobs or lifestyles and exaggerated them. Very clear identities.
Got it.
Then, maybe 1800s or so, the white-faced clown becomes more common, especially in circuses. And these guys were often really skilled, acrobatics, juggling.
So the skills came first, almost.
Often, yeah.
Yeah.
And the book points out that the kind of more bumbling, obviously silly clown we often think of, that didn't really become a standard type until the early 1900s.
Huh. That's later than I thought. What about the other main types? The Auguste.
Right. The Auguste, often the sort of foil to the white face, maybe seemed less skilled, more prone to messing things up.
The clumsy one.
Yeah, the buffoon. A lot of the comedy came from the white face setting something up and the Auguste just failing hilariously.
Classic duo setup.
And then you got the tramp clown, which the book links to migratory workers in the U.S. early 20th century, popularized by comedians like W.C. Fields.
Right, the sort of down on his luck, but maybe still charming character.
Exactly. So you see this evolution of different archetypes.
A whole lineage. Okay, so how does someone actually create one of these characters? It's got to be more than just makeup, right?
Oh, absolutely not just makeup. The book really hammers this home.
Yeah.
You need a unique character with a personality.
Yeah.
Likes, dislikes, goals, maybe flaws.
Like a backstory.
Yeah, pretty much. And that core personality has to drive everything. How they look, how they move, how they react.
So it's like, well, method acting with bigger shoes, is that stretching it?
Maybe a little, but there's a kernel of truth there. The book talks about two main ways to approach it. You can go inside out, Figure out the personality first, then design the look to match.
Huh?
Or you can go outside in, experiment with makeup styles, different looks, and see what kind of character sort of emerges from that.
That's fascinating that the visual could actually spark the personality.
It is interesting. And the book links these makeup styles to character types, too.
Yeah.
Like Whiteface is often the smarter one, the leader.
Right.
Auguste is more the fool, the messy one. And then character clowns is a broader category that includes hobos, tramps.
And you mentioned a difference there. Happy hobo, sad tramp.
Yeah, the book makes that distinction. The hobo might be down on their luck, but still optimistic, whereas the tramp is often more melancholic, world-weary, subtle, but it affects the portrayal.
Got it. And what about originality? Can you just copy, say, Emmett Kelly?
The book strongly advises against just copying. It says creating something original, something yours, is way more effective. While Kelly is iconic, just trying to be him, it probably won't connect as well as finding your own unique thing.
Find your own funny.
Exactly. And to help with that, it suggests creating a character biography, like really detailed. Ask questions about them, figure out their quirks. It helps keep the character consistent.
A clown Bible.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's talk wardrobe. Clown clothes are usually pretty out there. Is there a philosophy behind it?
Definitely. The clothes aren't just random. They communicate. They're part of the personality. You know, the exaggerated shapes, the bright colors, red, green, yellow are common.
Yeah, very vibrant.
Things like bells sewn on, jagged collars.
Yeah.
It all adds to that comedic, often playful feel.
So every element tells a bit of the story.
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
The book gives examples. Oversized shoes, classic, right? Like size 17 sneakers over your normal shoes. Instantly reads as clumsy or silly.
Can't go wrong with big shoes.
Neckties add color, personality. And interestingly, eyeglasses. Less common for Whiteface or Auguste. Why? Might suggest intelligence, which doesn't always fit the character.
Oh.
But a character clown, like a professor type or something, might use them to define that persona more.
So even tiny details matter. Okay,
Yeah.
the big one, makeup. Can't talk clowns about it. What are the main styles?
Right. The book breaks it down into three main types.
Right.
First, Whiteface. That's the classic look. Smooth, even layer of white grease paint all over the face. Eyelids, eyebrows, lips, everything covered.
Okay.
Then you set that with powder, and then you outline the features, eyes, brows, mouth, usually in black, maybe add some color accents.
That sort of iconic, almost mask-like look.
Exactly. That's Whiteface. Then you have Auguste. Starts with a flesh tone base, usually. Then white is applied around the eyes and mouth, but often, well, maybe less perfectly even than the Whiteface. More exaggerated shapes.
A bit more cartoonish, maybe?
Yeah, perhaps. And those white areas get outlined, often red or black. Other colors used for features, too. It's generally a bolder, maybe more buffoonish look.
Okay, Auguste. And the third.
The third is hobo or tramp. This usually uses a flesh tone or maybe a light tan base. The key things here are a drawn-on beard or stubble effect, and often white around the eyes and mouth, but shaped to suggest sadness or being downcast. Kind of an unkempt look overall.
So the makeup itself signals the character type pretty clearly. And it's not just finger painting, right? There's technique.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The book talks about warming the grease paint a bit first, helps it go on smoother, and setting it with powder is crucial, really crucial, or it'll smudge everywhere.
I can imagine.
They even suggest techniques like removing excess powder with a soft brush, and then maybe a light spritz of water or padding with a damp cloth to really set it, make it last longer under lights, or if you're sweating.
Wow, okay.
Uh-huh.
More involved than you'd think. All right, moving on to physical comedy. Clowns are famous for it. What are the building blocks there?
Yeah, the book says they're inseparable, really. Clowning and physical comedy. It highlights a few key things, like just practicing conveying emotions, happy, sad, angry, and personality traits, clumsy, stubborn, just using your face and body in front of a mirror, usually.
Honing those nonverbal skills.
Exactly. Then there's exaggeration, super important. Taking a normal action, like walking, and making it funny by exaggerating its super high knees, maybe.
The silly walk.
The silly walk. And the classic double take. The delayed reaction. That's a core tool.
I can picture it perfectly.
Also reacting believably to imaginary things like, stepping on something sticky that isn't there, or carefully avoiding an invisible obstacle, making the audience believe it.
Right, selling the illusion.
And of course, timing. The book stresses timing is just everything for the humor to land. It also notes that clowns rely much more on this physical, nonverbal stuff than, say, stand-up comics who use words.
Showing the funny, not just telling it. Makes sense. Now, a big part is the audience, right? Interacting with them. How do clowns manage that? Control the room, engage people.
Hugely important. The book covers several techniques. Using warm-ups is, one, getting the audience moving or making sounds right at the start, breaks the ice.
Get everyone involved.
Yeah. And then this fun idea of teaching the audience goofy applause. Like, not just normal clapping, but silly ways to clap.
Like what?
Oh, things like vibrating your lips, slapping your belly, slapping your knees, horse applause.
No.
Just getting them to be playful.
That sounds brilliant, actually. Well,
Using volunteers, that's a classic. But the book emphasizes doing it gently. Ask simple questions, maybe mix up their names playfully, get them to copy your actions. But the key is making them feel comfortable, part of the fun, never making fun of them.
crucial distinction. You want them on your side. What about difficult situations? Hecklers.
Yeah, it addresses that. Suggest a couple of approaches. You could try to engage the heckler, maybe give them a small, harmless role, turn it around.
Incorporate them sometimes. Or, if you can, just ignore them. If you do bring them into it, the advice is to treat them like any other volunteer. No confrontation, make it light, try to win them over to the fun side. Often disarms the situation.
Smart. Turning a negative into a positive.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk tools of the trade. Props and jokes. What are the go-to items in comedic strategies?
The book categorizes props nicely. You've got jumbo props, just oversized versions of normal things. The visual is instantly funny, especially if used inappropriately, like Emmett Kelly using a giant sledgehammer to crack a tiny peanut.
Right, the absurdity of it.
Then sporting props. Flower, camera, whatever. Classic surprise gag. Props with hidden features like pulling a ridiculously large wand out of a tiny purse. That element of impossible surprise.
Yeah.
And mistaken identity, using a prop as if it's something else entirely.
The old banana phone.
Exactly, that kind of thing. The book also really pushes pairing props with verbal humor, especially puns, wordplay. They give an example. Frank does his act with relish, plays on the food and the enjoyment. Clever. How about coming up with original jokes, not just puns?
It suggests observation, finding humor in everyday stuff, using surprise, exaggeration, amplifying things, and getting creative with standard props, like maybe you have a magic coloring book, but a big sneeze makes all the colors disappear, or a breakaway wand suddenly becomes a pencil, or you pretend it's a lollipop.
Seeing the potential in ordinary objects. Okay, beyond props and jokes, what about core skills? What does a well-rounded clown need to be able to do?
The book lists quite a few. Juggling is a big one. Even just basic three-ball juggling, it says, grabs attention. It explains the basic cascade pattern, focusing on control points for learning, and importantly, how to turn drops into jokes.
Because drops happen.
Exactly. Might as well make it funny. Then there's balancing. It talks about center of gravity, how sometimes longer things are actually easier to balance. Balancing sticks, plates, even, get this, a balloon on your nose, apparently stabilized with a bit of cement.
Cement, seriously.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Right. Then puppetry, making puppets come alive through personality, communication ventriloquism, or maybe mime with the puppet, creating a voice, synchronizing movements. It even mentions third-arm puppetry, using a special jacket to make it look like a puppet is moving independently beside you.
Oh, that sounds clever. Creates a real interaction. What about the more physical feats? Stilts, unicycles.
Yep, still walking. The book says it's maybe easier to learn than it looks, especially with beginner stilts. Big visual impact, obviously. And you can combine it with other things, like doing magic up high, unicycling, to basic mounting, riding, dismounting, using it for stunts, often involving planned, safe falls. Safety is stressed for that.
Makes sense. A lot of physical skill involved, potentially. What about quieter arts? Mime, music.
Mime is key. The book emphasizes observation as the foundation. Watching how people really move. It talks about classic mime routines, exercises like passing the object or tug of war. And music kids love noise, right? So incorporating music makes sense. Playing deliberate sour notes for laughs, writing funny lyrics, parodies, or original songs, adding character to the music, getting the audience involved with sing-alongs or sound effects, musical games.
Wow, it's a real mix of performance disciplines. So how do you pull all this together? Create an actual act.
The book suggests keeping a journal. First off, write down any idea, joke, bit. Don't censor yourself initially.
Brainstorming.
Exactly. And originality is encouraged, but adapting existing stuff to your character is fine too. Having a theme or a simple plot can help structure the whole thing.
Give it some shape.
Yeah. And it offers specific comedic writing techniques, like the unexpected pairing something normal with something absurd. Exaggeration, obviously.
Right.
Building tension. Using conflict, saying something against the grain. Playful hostility, like complaining about homework for kids. Surprise endings or twists. And using colorful language, funny-sounding words, even made-up ones.
Gibberish can be fun.
Totally. And then finally, the absolute necessity of rehearsal. Practice, practice, practice.
Even for planned chaos, you need to practice. Okay, we've talked art and skills. What about the practical side? Can you actually make a living doing this?
The book addresses the business of clowning, yeah. It says it can be flexible, profitable part-time or full-time. But you have to be professional. That means insurance, tracking expenses, being on time, always.
Treat it like a real business. Where do clowns find work?
All sorts of places, actually. Birthday parties, picnics, sure. But also carnivals, restaurants, malls, fairs, theme parks, schools, cruise ships. Even teaching clowning, face painting, balloon animals, juggling lessons.
That's way more diverse than I pictured. How do you get those gigs?
Promotion is key. Business cards, letterhead, a proper publicity kit, good photos and costume, a resume, a cover letter. It gives tips for handling phone calls, too. Be friendly, professional, clear about services and fees.
Sales skills needed, too.
Definitely. And building repeat business is huge. It even gives advice on pricing, like for birthday parties, and how to handle payments professionally.
So it's performance plus entrepreneurship. How do you make sure they remember you and book you again?
Leaving a great impression is number one. The book mentions maybe using gimmicks for bookings sometimes, but cautions not to overdo it. It also lists resources, publications, organizations for clowns, suppliers for props and makeup. There's a whole community and industry there.
A network to tap into. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What are the big takeaways from this deep dive into creative clowning?
Well, I think the main thing is it's way more complex and skilled than you might think at first glance. It's this blend of creativity, physical skill, understanding people, and even business sense.
Right. We saw the history, the different character types evolving.
Yeah, and how much thought goes into creating that character, the look, the movement, the personality. It's not just random silliness.
It's a whole craft.
Yeah.
From makeup technique to juggling to writing jokes.
Exactly. And thinking about that dedication, that artistry, it maybe makes you wonder about other jobs or activities that seem simple on the surface, but have this hidden depth, you know?
That's a really good point. So for you listening, now that you've sort of peeked behind the painted smile, maybe think about how this changes how you see performance, or just the art of making people laugh. Or consider that idea. What other lighthearted professions might have a surprising amount of complexity hiding underneath?
If this has sparked your interest, maybe check out some of those publications that the book mentioned, or try and catch a live clown performance with perhaps a new appreciation for what goes into it.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
That's it for this episode of the Rubber Chicken Report. Hit subscribe and catch us on YouTube for more adventures. Until next time.